What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and for today's video I wanted to give you guys another look at one of the X-Men characters. So for today we're going to be taking a look at Rogue, right? Probably the easiest of the X-Men characters to attain because she is the first one that you have access to in the tracking missions right here. So I know that since we're getting quite a bit of new players to the game and Rogue is a fan favorite, a lot of people are going to think about picking her up first. So I wanted to give you guys my thoughts on how I feel about Rogue as a character, right? She's also the only speed mutant in the game right now, and the speed class is kind of lackluster for the most part, so a lot of people are going to be thinking about getting her. So let me just go ahead and let you guys know how I feel about her, starting with her skills, right? So we're going to start with her leadership right here, adaptable. Now as you guys can see right here, it increases all defenses by 36%. This is the highest all defense leadership in the game. However, this is due to the fact that this was not originally what we got advertised for Rogue. Initially, Netmarble promised us a leadership that gave us 24% chance to be immune to damage, right? That was her original leadership. However, a lot of people were finding that the leadership was pretty buggy, and it seems that Netmarble hasn't been able to fix that, so they went ahead and changed Rogue's leadership. To be honest, even though this is a really good defensive leadership, I don't really use leaderships like these, so I'm still not gonna use it. I didn't use Rogue's leadership before, however I thought that it was really unique and it was a nice thing to see more leaderships come into the game that was not pretty much what we expected, right? So I'm a little bit disappointed that Netmarble couldn't figure it out, but at the same time I'm happy that they gave her something that makes her a bit more tanky, because Rogue is actually really tanky already. So if you're new to the game and you pick her up and you play her as one of your first characters while you're figuring out this game, it's going to make it so that she's really hard to kill and you're able to play with her more and you get better at the game that way, okay? So it's a good leadership for newer players, not so much for me, and probably not going to be for you once you start getting into figuring out this game a little bit more. As for a tier 2 passive, I think this is a really good tier 2 passive. The decrease to all damage received is just going to make her even more tanky, coupled with the fact that she gets 23% increase to guaranteed dodge, right? That's a lot of survivability. However, what makes this great is the fact that she gets an increase to all buffs. This is actually really good. Like, this increase that she gets is pretty identical to what Captain Marvel gets, and that's the only thing she gets, and a lot of people still think she's great. So if Rogue got pretty much the same thing plus more in terms of decrease to all damage and guaranteed dodge, you can see why I feel like this is a really good tier 2 passive, right? So it's going to be very useful for her because she has a good bit of buffs in her kit. So this is going to be really useful, okay? 5 skill right here is probably her best skill. As you guys can see right here, it increases your all attack by 15%, defenses by 15%, all speed by 15%, but more importantly, it gives you a 100% chance to be immune to all damage for 4 seconds. Okay, it also deals some damage and it does cover a wide radius, so you don't have to be really up close to the enemy. It also removes any active buff that the target has, so if they buff themselves to deal more damage to you, that's going to be gone. However, what most people are going to be interested in is the all attack buff and the damage immunity. As for a 4 skill, guys, this right here is just a copy paste of what Hyperion has. However, they did improve it a little bit more, right? Hyperion's 4th skill is not a full iframe. Hers is a full iframe, and they added a little bit more kick to it at the end, so this is a really good skill, especially since she has 4 seconds of damage immunity. It's gonna make this one of her key skills in order to stall while this thing comes off cooldown, because as you guys can see, it is on a 15-second cooldown. Once you have max skill cooldown, that's gonna be 7.5 seconds. This skill right here lasts for about 2 seconds, so that's gonna stall for some time for you right there, okay? 4-star passive, I'm not really that big on it. It does give her a decrease to debuff duration, which means that when you get stunned or snared or bind and stuff like that, it's not gonna last as long. Kind of fitting for Rogue, but not really for me. I don't really like passives like these. I'd rather her get 5% increase to her damage. That would have been better for me, but it's not terrible all around, especially since she's speed. Like, I've seen some really terrible speed passives in this game, so this one right here, it's alright, I guess. 3 skill right here, she recovers 6% of her max HP, and this right here is just only going to add to her survivability, and since this is a buff this is actually going to get increased slightly when you get her to tier 2. So with an iframe, with a damage block, and with a heal, you can see why I said Rogue is going to be a really good character for you if you're really new, okay? Lots of survivability in the kit. 2 skill right here is an iframe as well. As you guys can see, it also removes any active buff that the target has, similar to the 5 skill. And similar to the 5 skill, it also buffs her as well by 30%. 30% increase to her physical attack. That is great. So not only does she have a lot of survivability, she also has a lot of ways to buff her own damage as well, okay? Really good kit. 1 skill right here is just plain damage. She just lunges at the enemy, does a punch and an uppercut at the end. Nothing too special about it. And as for a rotation that I like to use with Rogue, guys, I generally open with the 5 skill for the damage immunity. From there, I use the 1 skill because it is the only skill that doesn't really offer any kind of advantage, and it is not an iframe, so I want to get that out the way while I'm still in the damage immunity, okay? From there, I generally go with the 2 skill to buff my own damage even further. And then I'll go with the 3 skill and save the 4 skill for last because it is a long iframe. And using this rotation, by the time the 4 skill ends, the 5 skill is just about to come off cooldown. And that is if you have max skill cooldown. So keep that in mind, okay? If you use this rotation, you should be able to stay safe with her. And even if you get a hit, it's not going to be for much because of all her defenses. And you can go ahead and heal with Drain Punch as long as you cycle that in every single rotation. Really hard to die with Rogue if you play her with a smart rotation in mind. Doesn't have to be this rotation because you have the damage immunity, the iframe, and the heal, right? If you do that, the only problem you might have is that you might run out of time because you don't have enough damage, so keep that in mind. As for her gears, she has physical attack and attack speed on the first gear slot. Very good gear. And as for what you want to do right here, you want to go similar to what I have. You want to go physical attack per level for the first 2. And then you want to go for all attack for the remaining slots, okay? Next slot right here, you have energy defense and crit rate. Could have been better, it could have been all defenses, but energy defense is not bad. And for right here, you want to go energy defense per level for the first 2, and then go all defenses for the remaining slots. This slot right here, crit damage and crowd control. I would have really liked it if we had gotten HP here, but sadly we got crowd control instead. Although the crowd control is not completely useless, I do not care for it. However, not that bad. We got crit damage, especially since it's in the first slot, so that's going to help bump up our damage a little bit more. So first 2 slots right here, you want to go for HP per level, similar to what I have, and then you want to go for HP for the remaining slots, okay guys? Next slot right here, movement speed and ignore defense. I'm a little bit upset about this slot as well. I would have liked the ignore defense to be in the first slot, and to be honest, I would have liked the movement speed to not even be here. I would have liked that to be skill cooldown, but sadly, no dice, okay? So no skill cooldown in her kit, so that's gonna hurt some of you newer players. So as for the 4th slot right here, guys, it's gonna be completely up to your cards, right? Because if you're really new, you're not gonna have really good cards, so you might have to roll the entirety of this gear slot as a skill cooldown. As you guys can see, I only needed to roll a couple for skill cooldown because I have really good cards, and I'll go ahead and show you guys what her stats look like in a second. As for an obelisk for her, guys, you want to go ahead and roll for something similar to what I'm going to roll for if you want to use her for Extreme AB, because she is a candidate for Extreme AB since she is a speed hero. So this is what I'm going to roll for her. I'm going to go for Ignore Defense, Ignore Dodge, because the Frost Beast on speed day has a good bit of dodge. So Ignore Defense, Ignore Dodge, and a damage block. The only reason this is not on her is because the percentages are a little bit too low for my liking, so I'm going to keep going until I get something else, okay? If you're not building her for Extreme AB, you can go ahead and go for crit damage, ignore defense, or crit rate, and a damage proc, okay? Just keep in mind you're still going to need to max out your ignore defense from your Urus or your cards, or you're going to have to re-roll the 4th geared slot. As for ISO set, guys, I got overdrive here, and this cost me like 4 million gold. I continuously rolled Hawk's Eye, and for me, that is a bad ISO set. For you guys, it may not be, right? The reason why it's a bad ISO set for me is because just coming from my cards right now, which they're not optimal, but I'm getting 33% skill cooldown, right? Just from my cards. So if I had rolled Hawk's Eye and equipped it, I would have had over 40%. That would have been a lot of wasted stats that I could use for something else. So I kept re-rolling In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have, but it is what it is. So let me go ahead and show you guys what she actually looks like right now. So 36% on the skill cooldown, 31% on the ignore defense, crit damage is 152%, crit rate 18%, that is a bit low, attack speed is very low at only 1%, so you might have to roll for overdrive or power fang Hulk depending on your cards, right? If you're new, Hawkeye is probably going to be the best ISO set for you since your cards are not going to be that great. Okay, if you're a veteran or if you're getting along and your cards are in good standings, go for overdrive as your main choice. Power Fang Hulk is not a bad second either because you're going to get some attack speed. So like I always do, I'm going to go ahead and take her into some gameplay action right now. And we're going to go into Shadowland. And we're going to wipe floor 3 against Iron Man right here. Just for shits and giggles. And I'll show you guys my rotation in action. So let's do this, boys. Alright. So the question here is, guys, who's got the sugar? That's the real question here. Now, you guys see just how hard it is for them to even touch Rogue, right? And the fact that when they do eventually hit her, she has the heal on the 3 skill that you can just use and then bring yourself all the way back up to full HP pretty much because you're not getting hit very often or very much each time. You can see why I say she's a really good pickup if you're new because she's just going to be so freaking tanky and so easy to use. Like, look at that, guys. It's crazy. And she gets even better at tier 2. Once she gets to tier 2, the 4 seconds of immunity that she has on the 5 skill actually becomes 6 seconds, and her heal gets even higher, right? So you don't even need to even think about putting invincibility on her. You just want to ramp up her damage as much as possible, and she's going to be an absolute beast across the board. PvP, PvE, doesn't matter. It's actually really, really crazy. Highly recommend getting Rogue. She's one of the best speed characters in the game right now. Okay, and that's all I have to share for this one, guys. Like always, thanks for watching. Let me know what you guys think about Rogue in the comments, and I'll see you guys, well, in the comments, boys. And I'm out.